I believe in you, guy. Yeah, but I bet you the girls at work are gonna pay more attention to you. I don't like this woman. She just gets food out of him and ditches him. Hello fellow anime geeks and welcome to another anime review on my quest to try every anime series that I can. As usual, here's the 4 questions that I use to organize my thoughts, and today I'm talking about a light novel adaptation that actually made me even more uncomfortable than this season's Nagatoro-san. We're talking Hige, Soru, Soshite, Joshikousei wa Hirou, or on Crunchy, Higehiro. After being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway. The mouth tags are drama and romance, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is an adult harem. A harem that plays out a very specific romantic fantasy. Now, I don't mean adult as in grown-up topics, well, that too. I mean adult as in explicit content, and not just extra fan service like the R- mild nudity rating would have you believe. Fair warning, this show includes full explicit scenes and assault involving a minor. Thankfully, our protagonist is not a part of this horrendous behavior. Instead, like our title implies, he's this decent, hardworking man, and he happens to come across this teenage runaway one night and offers her a place to stay, no evil intentions. This isn't your typical dad anime though. The plotline reminds me more of the movie Tenshi no Koi, where there's this teenager and she has some sort of emotional or psychological issue, and this encounter actually ends up helping her heal, put her life back together, and romance isn't strictly off the table in the future. In this show, our teenage girl has suffered through some pretty bad stuff, and we still don't even know the half of it. So our protagonist continually struggles to try to teach her self-love. Now, the harem plotline comes into play because although he may not consider her a potential love interest at the moment, she is one of 3 women that is actually interested in him, and we do get a lot of the same jealousy and living together tropes and plotlines that we get in a normal harem. In terms of originality, I do think that this mixture of situations is unique in that it offers us a more grown-up storyline. And while our protagonist is your typical stand-up guy, I really am partial to this sort of noble, morally good character. Unfortunately, that doesn't preclude this show's use of hyper-sexualized fan service around a character that's supposed to be a minor. Now, I do understand that this is an adult show, and the explicit scenes that were depicted were actually integral to this girl's story. What I take issue with is all of the other random, unnecessarily detailed close-up representations of this girl's anatomy. I was severely uncomfortable when I had to look up this girl's tiny panty-covered, accurately depicted booty crack when I just wanted to read the subtitles during a really long, emotional, and significant scene in episode 3. Now, obviously, A, I don't want to show it to you, and B, it would make my video twice as long, but I do want to illustrate the cognitive dissonance, so what I'm gonna do is show you a whole bunch of random pictures while I keep talking about important points about this plot. Just try your best not to feel distracted. Now, there are plenty of shows out there with heavy fan service, and while they are not my personal cup of tea, I'm not anybody's judge or jury, but I do think that this fan service undermines this story's gravity and dramatic integrity. I haven't read the novels, but I can't imagine that this is a problem with the books. The fan service shots added to this anime seem separate from our protagonist's internal conflicts and point to other deficiencies in this adaptation. For example, this show uses differences in our protagonist's psychological, emotional, and physiological development to ogle the emotionally damaged child. I don't think using trauma to set up fan service is okay, and neither is using assault for melodrama. Her assaulter does a 180 personality shift after just setting up the heroic action for our protagonist, and he suffers no repercussions for his despicable actions. And I also think that the other female characters are poorly depicted. There's the boss lady who's a grown booty woman competent enough to hold a higher position in the company, but who's not mature enough to honestly speak with our protagonist about why she doesn't want to go out with him. And then there's his kohai who just flat out stalks him and then feels entitled to tell him how he should live his life. So I don't think that this one is worthwhile for me. Now, I'm not rejecting all adult content told from the man's perspective. In fact, there's stories in movies like The Guru or 40 Days and 40 Nights that I really enjoyed despite raunchy really not being my thing. I just can't escape the feeling that this story was written to fulfill a very specific romantic fantasy and hero complex, and those particular fantasies just don't resonate with me. Again, I'm no judge. like the first Twilight book, and if you want to talk about the epitome of a story that was written in order to fulfill a repressed romantic fantasy, I think that one's it. And yes, it is really gross that he's like 100 and something and she's a freaking teenager. And on that note, I'll catch you in the next video. Is that really an angle we really need to see on this kid? Oh my gosh. This is so... They're gonna pan at her underwear again. Okay. Oh my gosh, stop showing me teenage girl stuff.